there are a few that could cause you to need a scheduled cesarean, and that would be maybe the baby's breech. Now, I prefer that my girls try all their options. So I don't want them to exhaust themselves mentally and physically, but go see a chiropractor who can help maybe get the baby in the right position. Do some moves. We have a course called Purposeful Positioning where we teach them different moves before baby goes breech to try to get the baby in the right position. You always have that stubborn baby who does its own thing. So, but knowing their options other than, oh, baby's breech, we're going to have to schedule a cesarean. Wait a minute. What else? What other options?
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of Mom Talks with Christa. I am so pumped up after today's interview with Trish Ware, labor nurse mama on Instagram. We had such an awesome conversation, which started talking about C-sections and how to prepare for C-sections and treatment after. But we kind of got off on a little tangent, which was just so powerful. We're just talking about expectations of women after having birth and the importance of community after birth as well. And Trish is just such an awesome woman. I just felt her passion through the screen. And so I just can't wait for you guys to listen to this episode and check out all Trish has to offer. And of course, be sure to stick around at the end for our special segment called Mom Tales of the Week. This is our new segment where we ask you guys questions on our social media, and then we'll share some of our favorite hilarious, deep, real responses. And they're just so fun to read and just share a little bit more about you guys, your motherhood journey, and so much more. So without further ado, here's my interview with Trish Ware. You just give us a little introduction to who you are and what you do, and we'll kind of go from there.
I teach all about pregnancy, postpartum, birth, breastfeeding, mom life on Instagram. But before that happened, I am a mom of 7. So that's usually the big shocker. I have 5 sons and 2 daughters, one of whom is adopted. So I feel like I've done a little bit of everything when it comes to birth, including being a labor and delivery nurse for a long time. I have been a labor and delivery nurse for about 16-ish years. I went to school specifically to do labor and delivery. I tell my girls all the time, like, it was in my soul. It wasn't a job to me. It was like a calling and a passion. And I was very fortunate to grow up in an environment where birth was embraced and birth was seen as a natural process. And so when I became a labor and delivery nurse, I went in with all these like high hopes and these golden dreams, and I'm going to be the best labor nurse, and I'm going to, do this birth thing with her. And I realized really quickly that birth was not a natural process inside the hospital, that it was a medical process. And I got very discouraged. And there were times I would cry on the way home from work because like you said, I would go in for an emergency C-section that didn't feel so emergent, felt more convenient. And I was really baffled by the lack of innovation on providers' part, where instead of taking her for a major abdominal surgery, why not get her up and move her? So it was just really discouraging. And so in 2018, I launched my blog. We launched a shop as well that sells labor and delivery gowns and baby swaddles. But the whole goal was to start teaching on the blog. And so we started teaching on the blog. The blog blew up because I have a very specific style of teaching. I'm very blunt. I'm very open. I don't beat around the bush, but I wasn't connecting with my audience. So in 2019, I started teaching on Instagram, and it blew up. And then in 2020, we launched our first birth courses. And like you said, like, my heart for those birth courses were because of DMs that I was getting from moms who were scared, really, really scared, full of fear. And fear is like the enemy of birth. And then I was also getting this consistent theme of birth trauma. people who were traumatized by their birth. And in nursing school, in labor and delivery world, we're taught that birth trauma is when something catastrophic happens. But what I was learning is that it can be as simple as a lack of communication with the patient. So mom leaves her birth really not knowing what happened to her, which that's terrifying, so we started teaching. My entire premise is I have the main birth course to keep moms from ending up in the VBAC lab. The VBAC lab is for moms who want a vaginal delivery after cesarean. And, thank goodness for cesareans. Like, praise God that we have that option because it saves lives. The problem is in the US, especially, it's used as a means of convenience. It's used too often. It should be a last resort, not let's just do a cesarean, So that was a long intro. Sorry.
No, I thought that was great. No, that gave a lot of background to who you are. And I think like your passion for what you do, because I've interviewed a few like women that have talked about their births and being traumatic and not really having full communication with their doctor. So you bring up a really great point about how a lot of the trauma does come from not understanding what's going on or leaving, being like, wait a second, what happened here? Kind of just to get started. I know you really talk about in one of your courses, helping moms understand beforehand, like preventing going to a C-section. So what are some main things, like say moms are pregnant right now listening, that they can kind of prepare for to kind of not go that way, make it sure it's like, it is the last resort?
One of the things I think that makes my birth courses really different is we do weekly check-ins, weekly coaching calls. We actually call it the happy hour. And so we meet weekly, both courses separately. Each course has a weekly happy hour and we talk through things. So last night, funny that we're talking about this now, last night we were talking about communicating with your provider. And I don't want any of my students going in willy-nilly, like, I will not do this. I will not do that. I want them to understand why. Why do we do cesareans? What is the reason? And when is it valid? And when is it not? And the only way that a mom can know that is if she has, so I call it your labor tool bag. If her labor tool bag is a solid bag with a solid foundation. Like we all know when you buy a handbag, like if you buy a cheap handbag, you're setting yourself up because it's not going to last. So the foundation, the lining of your tool bag needs to be education. Education is power. I know it's overused, but it's true. But taking it even a step further is education is power when it's applied. If you have that knowledge and that education, but you're too scared to speak up, you're too scared to question your provider, then it's not really power per se. So what I do is I teach my girls, okay, this is the intervention, because the truth of the matter is once you start having interventions, it's a cascading effect. And so if you can stop it in the beginning, that intervention, then you may not end up here at this intervention, including a cesarean, which is like the last resort intervention. And so I teach them how to ask clarifying questions, how to understand, okay, is Pitocin really needed in this circumstance? We weigh everything by curiosity and convenience. So are they wanting to do Pitocin because maybe my labor's not going as fast as the doctor wants it to? But I'm in good health. My baby's okay. So why does it matter if I take 6 extra hours? Doesn't really matter, because if my body does it on its own, it's going to be much more effective and safer for me and the baby. So we start back then. You can't just start at, oh, I'm not going to have a C-section, or why is the C-section? You have to start way back at the beginning at your choice of, do I go to the hospital when I first start laboring? No, you don't. Because as soon as you get to the hospital, guess what? We're going to start intervening. We're going to start an IV. We're going to put you in bed. We're going to strap you to monitors. We're going to limit your movement. Well, movement is key. Movement is really important. So I try to teach them way back at the first steps, like what can we do to not end up here? On the flip side, I also teach them the signs that a cesarean would be appropriate. So they have to have a knowledge base to be able to go in and make, because if you don't have a knowledge base, you're going to have to lean into someone else to make decisions for your birth, and decisions are going to be made, period. Someone's going to make them. And if you aren't knowledgeable, of course, you're not going to make a decision. You're going to let someone who is. Well, I hate to break it to people, but we're all human and we're all people. And your provider and your labor nurse, they have preferences. They have the way they like to do it and the way they see it and how they want it to happen. So if you aren't knowledgeable and the captain of that decision, then someone else will be, and their personal preferences will play a part in that.
Yeah. Wow. I love that that you said that, because like I said, I interviewed someone a couple years back, and she was talking about how, in the moment she just remembers the doctor kind of coming in and saying like, we need to do a C-section. And then like afterwards, just kind of being like, wait, what were my other options? What is a C-section? Like she didn't really fully understand it. So the fact that you're doing all this education for women is so powerful, just to understand what's happening to their body, understanding like, okay, what are our options, and being a voice for them that kind of helps them.
Yeah. And it's not my voice, it's their voice. That I interviewed one of my students. We did a birth story, and she said, I loved how she put it, because if anyone follows me, they know that I have my own personal preferences for birth. I love unmedicated birth. I love moving around and doing it myself and all of those things. However, what I do is, and this is how she said it, is I lay out all the options like a smorgasbord, and then you pick what you want. And it's so mom is picking, no one else is picking, not Trish and her labor course, not the provider, not the labor nurse, not the hospital policy. All of those things are wonderful and can help guide you, but ultimately it should be her. She is the center of the birth. And so she should make the decisions, but she has to have knowledge to be able to do so, because it is a pretty important decision making process, and like you said, sometimes it's as simple as, well, what are the other alternatives? Like, you want to do a cesarean, what's the benefit and what's the alternative?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know we kind of want to talk about, preparing and healing for C-section, because there are, like you said, there are some times where C-sections do need to happen. So what are those circumstances where C-sections would need to happen? And then we'll kind of go from there.
There are a few that could cause you to need a scheduled cesarean, and that would be maybe the baby's breech. Now, I prefer that my girls try all their options. So I don't want them to exhaust themselves mentally and physically, but go see a chiropractor who can help maybe get the baby in the right position. Do some moves. We have a course called Purposeful Positioning, where we teach them different moves before baby goes breech to try to get the baby in the right position. You always have that stubborn baby who does its own thing. So, but knowing their options, other than, oh, baby's breech, we're going to have to schedule a cesarean. Wait a minute. What else? What other options? Things that would be certain would be placenta previa. If your placenta is near the opening of your cervix, well, of course, we don't want you to dilate, because it will break, that bind and you could bleed. So there are some mamas who have had a previous C-section for, I could say, a repeatable event. So maybe she had a car wreck when she was a teenager, and she crushed her pelvis, and she has like a physical reason why she can't have a vaginal delivery. There are things that can happen during pregnancy that may cause that. Now, a lot of people will say big baby, but I take a real strong stance on big baby, because I truly believe that for the most part, given the opportunity, and if we as providers keep our hands out of Dodge, then most moms can deliver the baby that they built. That's just, there's a lot of studies on that, and I won't go into that because that's a whole nother show. Now, during labor, It could be something like mom is laboring, things are going well, and baby has like a really big dip in their heart rate. And we have what we call a fetal deceleration. Now, if it happened once, then, there should be other things being done. There are ways that we can resuscitate baby by doing increased fluids, doing oxygen, doing position changes. But let's say we've done all that. If mom's on Pitocin, we've stopped Pitocin, we've gotten her into different positions, we've done all we can, and baby just isn't tolerating labor. So that could be a reason. Or say mom starts bleeding really bad and we know there's some sort of either a rupture, a placental problem. That's an emergent situation. Or mom, something's going wrong with mom. But for some of the reasons, the most common reason that women go back to the OR for a primary cesarean is failure to progress, or what we call labor dystocia, like a difficult labor. ACOG, who governs a lot of these decisions, say that most of the time, I want to say it, and don't quote me completely, but I want to say it's 90% of moms, I'm probably wrong on that, but it's a big number of moms who are taken back to the OR for failure to progress. It's misdiagnosed, which they've just changed some of their their like guidelines in the last few years. They used to say that active labor was 4 to 5 centimeters. Now they're saying 6 centimeters, because a lot of moms were taken back to the OR and they weren't even in active labor yet. They were still in early labor. Early labor can last a long time. So, it's really hard for me when we say what are legit reasons, because I think the lines have gotten so blurred. So I would say legit reasons are when that there's an emergency with you or your baby, or the situation you're in is not going to change no matter what you do,
Yeah, absolutely. And so for those moms that you said for like the planned out C-section or scheduled C-sections, what are the best ways they can prepare their mind, body, and, emotional wellness, so much more before going to that point?
There's like a couple things that you can do. One, again, is education. We have what we call like a mini course on scheduled cesareans, preparing for them. And I think knowing what's going to happen to you, like fear is all based on unknown. Our body is programmed to be afraid of what we don't understand. So I think understanding that, also understanding that this is still their birth and there are ways in which they can own their birth. And so we teach our students how to own the operating room, that they're still in control, that they still have a say, they can still create a birthing environment. Remember, this is a birth experience, it's not just a surgery. And so preparing, understanding, their options on medications, whether or not they want to be restrained because we restrain their arms. Well, that can be very disconcerting to be strapped down. So there's different options. I see it all the time when I take a mom back to the OR who's not prepared. There's a lot that we do. Remember, it's a job for us. For a lot of women, having a baby is the very first time they were in the hospital as a patient. So just understanding what process is going to happen, not being surprised when you're butt naked in front of a group of staff. I mean, that I can't even tell you how many times, like I've looked over at my mom where we're hustling around doing our things and she's laying there completely naked with OR lights on her. And I think, oh my gosh, this has to be so disconcerting. So I usually, unless it's an emergent situation, I usually try to prepare my mamas for that, because that in itself is traumatizing if you haven't mentally prepared, right? Because to us, we're not seeing a naked woman. We see this every day, but to her, she's naked in front of a group of people for the very first time in her life, so, just being prepared, understanding the process, understanding the steps, understanding why we do what we do. What is my nurse doing when we're getting ready for the OR? Why is my partner not brought into the room yet? When will my partner be brought into the room? In what cases would I need general anesthesia instead of just a spinal? What is a spinal? All the things you don't know that you don't know. So that's why we created that scheduled cesarean course. Having your recovery prepared. Like, I think a lot of people think of cesarean as just the other way you give birth. and they really forget that mama just had a major abdominal surgery. This is not a light thing. This is a major abdominal surgery. You use your core for everything, right? And we've just cut through all of that. And so just being prepared that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to take longer to recover. It's okay if you don't clean your dishes or wash your laundry, or it's okay to ask for help. I think that it's asinine that we expect a woman, number one, to come home from a vaginal delivery and care for a family and another human, but to expect a woman to have a major abdominal surgery following a pregnancy where everything's wackadoodle anyway, and then come home and have to care for a person without being cared for herself, like that's a real disservice to her, you know. So being prepared for recovery is huge. We have a whole section on that as well in the course, because we give them, what I really love about our course is we really focused on nutrition and how do you prepare your body for a major surgery? How do I get ready for that? And then afterwards, how do I heal? How do I heal my scar? How do I heal my tissues? How do I heal my mind? You know, like, how do I let go of this feeling of failure? Because a lot of moms feel like because they didn't deliver vaginally, they did something wrong. And we want to take that out of them. And like, you did what you had to do for your baby. That's the basis of being a mom, you know? So I think that's really important to address with a lot of women. Some women don't feel that way, you know, but there are a lot who do, that feel like they lost something, you know?
Yeah. And I love that you cover all bases for, you know, healing from a C-section, because I think a lot of times we see, okay, healing, okay, how do I heal my body? But you made a good point. Like, you have to heal your mind, and you have to kind of make peace with, you know, what happened, and, you know, understand and allow your body to rest and your mind to rest. What other ways for moms that had a C-section, whether it was, you know, scheduled or emergency, that they can take those moments and heal from C-section? More on the medical side, healing their body, and then what you kind of talk about, healing their mind.
Nutrition for the body. That, you know, women ask me all the time, how do I prevent tearing? How do I do this? We'll start with your nutrition during pregnancy. A healthy body heals better. For mom, like, as far as healing physically, the better that your body is, you know, get moving during pregnancy. Like, and it doesn't have to be like a CrossFit thing. Like, Lord knows I'm not that girl. Like, I get on the treadmill, I do my thing, you know, just taking care of the body that you have. The healthier our body is, the faster it heals. Like, just makes logical sense. We go through in the course talking about different foods they can eat. Like, there's foods that have healing properties, like pineapple has bromelain in it. You've got like a natural healing foods. I mean, if you think about it, before there were all these medications, there were foods. So what foods help me heal? How can I heal my body? And I think the other part, mentally, is also, there is a huge connection between mental and physical health. So as she's healing her body, if she has her home prepared, I mean, I know for myself, the more I have laid out and ready and organized, the better my day goes anyways. So if you think about your postpartum journey, number one, don't expect yourself to bounce back quickly. Expect yourself to need a long time. If you set up that expectation of, I'm going to be fine in a week or two, you're really going to feel mentally challenged. So say to myself, okay, I had a major abdominal surgery. I had a baby. I gave birth to a human being. I'm going to let myself have 16 weeks of healing. Like, it's going to take me, you know, 4 to 6 months to get back on my feet. If she has that expectation, she's not going to like hold herself to some unrealistic goal, you know, and then if she heals sooner, if she feels normal again sooner, then that's great. But mentally prepare yourself for a long recovery, and then take care of your body so that your mind can heal. Setting aside self-care time taking help when it's offered. I think we as women are programmed to be like, no, I got it. I'm good. I'm good. I do that in my business on the daily. Like my assistant will say, hey, let me do that. No, I got it. I'm good. It's good. No, saying, oh, okay, there's a lot of power in asking for help and receiving help. Monday night on my VBAC lab happy hour coaching call, we have a mama who's from Bahrain. So more power to her, because it's 3:30 in the morning when we have our happy hour, and she's there every week. But we were talking about recovery and what postpartum looks like in other countries. So we asked her, like, what does it look like there? Because they have it nailed. Like, we are sorely lacking when it comes to supporting a new family. So she said that for 40 days, they pretty much do nothing. They're cared for. So she goes and she lives with her mother's family, like her mother, her and her husband, and her mother and the women in the family care for her, and they honor her. She just gave birth. She gave life. She brought life, so they really come alongside them and they nurture them, because it's not just the baby who needs to be cared for. It's the mom as well. So I think, asking for help. If you don't have help, finding a community like ours, like, what I really love about my weekly coaching calls and is telling me, like, you're doing something right here, Trish, is that my girls come back with their babies. So like any given happy hour, we've got a couple moms breastfeeding. We got a couple moms holding their babies, so I love that, because they're not only finding value in the education, they're finding value in the community, especially now with all this junk with COVID and how vastly different our life is. We need other moms. You need moms who are in the same stage as you, who can say, yeah, I felt that way too, but you got it. You're going to get through it. I promise. Like, we're here for you, so community is another way to support your mental health. Having a safe place to say, I don't got it. I'm not doing good. I'm not functioning. Like, what do I do? And us being able to say, you need help, like, you need more help than what you have, like, ask for more help, talk to your provider,
Yeah, that's so, I mean, I interviewed someone from Maldives, and she said a similar thing where she was like, yeah, you stay with your family and they take care of you. Same thing for Zimbabwe. I interviewed a woman from there too. And it's so interesting because there's such a lack of support for women when, it comes to after having a baby. They're just kind of expected to have a baby and move on with their life without actually fully absorbing it and taking care of themselves. So it's crazy to think about that, the expectations of moms and women.
And yet anyone will say that children are our future, but yet that pivotal time, I mean, studies have shown the first 2 months of life in mental development for a person is pivotal. So if mom is unable to nurture that baby properly because she can't get a grip on her own recovery, and yet we know that the consequences of a child not being nurtured properly during the first 2 months, like, why are we not putting 2 and 2 together? Like, we had a girl when we were talking about recovery, someone in my group, don't quote me, but someone in my group was saying that one of their friends in another country is taking a 3-year maternity leave, but a year and a half, 18 months of that is paid.
What?
Yeah.
That's unheard of here.
It is. I know. So I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, why are we so far behind? And the interesting thing is that we in the US, like, just pregnancy wise, we have, for a developed country, of one of the top developed countries, we have one of the highest maternal mortality rates. Like, why? Because we're doing it all wrong. We're not coming alongside her. We're not supporting her. We're not nurturing her. We're not providing for her.
Yeah.
Yet she's carrying the future inside of her. She's birthing the future. Like, it really makes no sense. The same with a lot of decisions we make in birth in general, make no sense at all.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I talked to Erin from Totem Women last week, and she was talking about how they were trying to change federal paid maternity leave to like 4 weeks. And she's like, that's not even enough time for a woman's body to heal. And so it's just, when you put it that way, it's just insane to think about what they expect women to
Right.
do. Like it's
You can't
literally nuts.
even you can't even have sex within 4 weeks, right? Your body's not
Hmm.
healed enough to be able to have sex within 4 weeks, like just to put it bluntly. Like,
Right.
why in the world should you be able to go back to work before you can do something as basic as having sex?
Right.
How does
Yeah.
that make any sense? We were talking about that too.
Yeah.
Like it's like asinine. It's unbelievable.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. And I'm not sure how blunt your audience is, but I'm pretty sure if a man had to push something out of his penis, he would probably be down and out for a year. Like, seriously.
Hmm.
If something that was 15 times the size of his penis came out of his penis, he would
Right.
not be walking for months,
I
right?
know. I always think of, I mean, this is not as like dramatic, as serious as this, but I always think about the Friends episode where Rachel is giving birth and then Joey has a kidney stone and he's acting the exact same and, going through all the pain, like, oh, you'll be okay, and it's just a completely different care system.
I mean, even let's just talk about plastic surgery, okay? If someone has a tummy tuck, they can't work or do things for like 8 weeks.
Right.
Now, I mean, come on now. Like, why
Yeah.
is that? Like, it's just when you start really weighing out the things and thinking about it in just a sensical way,
Hmm.
it's all nonsensical. Like pushing on your back. Why we do that? I don't get
Yeah.
it. Like, why is that the norm? Because it's convenient. It's
Hmm.
convenient for the team. It is not beneficial for the mom. It's not beneficial for the baby. So why do we do it? Like, why are we continuing to do that? We have a high rate of cesareans. We have a high rate of pelvic floor damage. And
Hmm.
yet we continue to have her push on her back. Like, I don't know. We could go into so many nonsensical birth issues.
Yeah.
This is why I'm passionate about what I do, because yeah, it might be easier for the team to be able to see their workspace and for them to see what's happening, but yet she's not going to be able to hold her urine for the next 10 years because
Hmm.
she damaged her pelvic floor. What
Hmm.
weighs more, right?
Hmm.
Convenience or what's best for her body? Like, I don't know. I can get so fired up. Like, my
Right.
girls are like, "Uh-oh, Trish is on the soapbox."
No, but I love that because I can feel your passion, and I feel like more people need to be aware of, the issues out there in the healthcare system and the things that we as women can be empowered to take control of,
Yeah,
as our own births or just educating our friends and family or
our
whatever it
daughters.
takes.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, and you made a good point too about community. I think like especially with COVID too, like our own Facebook group, like almost doubled in size during COVID because people really needed that community, moms that were
yeah,
in new places without family. And so it's good to see this online community or just, that's where social media is really powerful. There's obviously a lot of negative social media, but it's so powerful to have this online space where moms can connect with others and say like, hey, I need help. I just need someone to talk to. I need a friend.
yeah. Because there's so many mamas who are alone in their mothering journey because they got pregnant, they delivered, they had their first baby, they had their second baby, all during COVID. Like, that's the fact. There are women
Yeah.
in my group who are having their second COVID baby. So they never experienced a traditional baby shower. They never experienced going out with their friends and their friends commenting on their belly growing. They never experienced going out to an actual store and registering for baby stuff. Like, they missed out on so much. And on top of that, their babies are only used to people with masks. Like, it's just like we're
Mhm.
going to see long-term effects from this. And if we don't have solid support communities, if we don't have a way where a mom, like, I love our coaching call because it's just like what you and I are doing. It's face to face. So these moms are seeing each other. It's not just,
Mhm.
I love my Facebook communities and my private communities, but I love the weekly coaching call because we see each other. So, like, when my mama is sharing, I can see her face and I can say, "Hey, you're not doing good right now. What's up?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you so sad about? Like, where are you at, like, mentally? So I think
Yeah.
it's really important to recognize that a lot of these moms who have entered their mothering journey, they have never had what we would consider normalcy in motherhood,
Mm-hmm.
just like a whole new breed of mom. And we have a
Definitely.
lot to learn from them too, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I know when you put it that way about, yeah, or moms having kids, like multiple kids during COVID, and just like life is so different now. Just, it's just things that you had maybe always pictured just isn't quite as you kind of pictured there.
Yeah, they've had to grieve a lot. I mean, how many of these moms who've had baby showers where it's on Zoom,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like, how weird is that? Like,
Yeah.
it's a much different environment than us getting to sit in a decorated room with people and balloons and party favors and, all those things that you imagine having when you get pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
the fear of getting sick, the fear of, you know, the unknown. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, we
Yeah.
got way off our
Yeah.
cesarean talk, but that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. That was like
Yeah.
just a regular conversation with passion. And I feel like it's cool. I love when conversations kind of go that way, because it just shows like, you know, what's really heavy on our hearts and our mind. And, people listening are going to feel the same way about a lot of it. So just want to empower those women listening. And yeah, I love that. This was an awesome conversation. I've loved talking with you. I feel like we could talk about so many things, but I know we have to limit it. But I always like to end my interviews with fun thinking questions, I call them. And so if you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
My main thing is, I don't know how I would word it into a billboard though, but my main thing would be like, you are in control of your birth. Do not feel bad about having preferences and making decisions. You own your birth. Like, I am so passionate about her having that driver's seat and knowing that it's her body, her rights. If she wants to push a different way, no one can force you to push on your back. If she wants to get up and stand, she has a human right to get up and stand. If she wants to eat, she has a human right to eat. Like, basic needs are being stripped from women during birth that make no sense. So I guess just, you have rights, use them,
Mm-hmm. I
educate
love that.
yourself.
Yeah, love that. Definitely goes
I don't know
back
if it would
to
all fit on a
education.
billboard.
We'll
But
make it fit. It's a huge
yeah,
billboard.
a really big billboard with a lot of points, but maybe
Yes.
just educate yourself so that you feel confident in those decisions, because it's really hard. I mean, I just was talking to a guy for a business aspect for my business, and I literally am just leaning into him and letting him make all the decisions because I don't know. And I have to
Mm-hmm.
trust his education. Well, this is birth. This is your body. You don't ever want to let someone else make all the decisions for your body, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
That reminds me of in high school, we had this quote on the wall that said, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything, or something
Everything.
like that.
Oh, I love that.
And that kind of makes me think of it, because if
Yeah.
you don't understand or don't have the education behind it, and someone just says, well, this is what's best for you, then you're just going to believe them and be like, okay. Or if
Yeah.
you can't do
And
that
then
while you're
the next nurse comes on shift and she says,
Mhm.
this is what's best. You're going to believe her. And then the next
Exactly.
one comes and you're going to be like, wait,
Wait, which one? Yeah.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is right. And then you're going to feel really confused. But if you
Mhm.
understand what's best, then you can understand that they have personal preferences. And like I tell my mamas, like, you may go in there with a pretty hard line that I tell them there's no hard no's or yeses when it comes to your delivery. But if they go in and their provider comes in and they have a knowledgeable dialogue, they may end up deciding that, yeah, my provider's way is the better way for me.
Mhm.
But they won't be able to do that if they don't have a knowledge base and an understanding of the physiological side of labor, of the interventions. Why are they used? When are they used? When is it appropriate? When is it not? If they don't have that basic understanding, you're right, they're going to fall for everything.
Mhm. Absolutely. And so I know you mentioned some of your courses you offer which sound amazing. I want to share with all my friends. So tell us where we can find you on Instagram, your course names, and of course we'll get all the links and put them in the show notes as well.
Awesome. So you can find me on Instagram as labor.nurse.mama. You can also find me on my blog, which is labornursemama.com. We have 2 signature courses. One is Calm Labor, Confident Birth. And then the other is the VBAC Lab. The Calm Labor, Confident Birth is all about educating all moms. So any mom, whether it's your first or your fifth, I can't even tell you how many mamas I have in my course that have already had 2 or 3 babies. And through following me, through learning, they've realized, wow, I didn't make any decisions. I didn't have anything go the way that I would have preferred. And so they're taking my birth class now. So they go into this birth and they have the birth journey they want. I also teach them how to prevent having unnecessary things. In the VBAC lab is my moms who have had a cesarean who want to have a vaginal delivery. A lot of moms who've had cesareans think, once a cesarean, always a cesarean. That was a quote that a man said in 1918, people. It's not true. ACOG says that 90% of moms who have had a cesarean are a candidate for a vaginal delivery. If you're a candidate, it is the safer choice. A lot of people make moms feel that why not just do the cesarean? It's safer. No, it's not. Having a repeat surgery is not the safer option. So we've got the 2 signature courses, and they can find links to them on my link in bio on Instagram, on the blog. And we typically open them up 4 times a year. We do an open enrollment type of thing, but we do have a emergency baby can't wait button. If you find me at 37 weeks, 36 weeks, and you can't wait until the next enrollment, our next live enrollment for both courses is in January. But again, we have the baby can't wait emergency button at the very top, and they can join if they absolutely can't wait. Or I have some moms who are like, I don't want to wait. I want to join now. We have moms who join. We've got several students who aren't even pregnant yet, which more power to them, because they're going to make empowered decisions from the get-go, like choosing the right provider.
Yeah.
And so we have people ask me, when's the best time? Whatever time's best for you. If you need support and community through your whole pregnancy, if you want your own virtual labor nurse to help you guide you with decisions, then join now. If you feel like you want to wait until later, join later. I've had moms who have joined before pregnancy, and literally we've had several moms join the weekend before they deliver. So just never know. You can get through the course. It's self-paced, and then get through it in about 6 to 8 hours. So.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Like I said, we'll put all the links in the show notes.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was so nice talking to you. And like I said, I can feel your passion through the screen here. And I hope everyone else can feel empowered in their births as well.
I hope so too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, guys, it's time for this week's Mom Tales. And this is a good one. We got a lot of good responses. I did not read through all of them and not pick the winner so I could get an actual reaction here. Okay, so this is, what's the funniest thing your child has ever said, but you knew you shouldn't laugh at? Oh my gosh, I found a thread like this and it was hilarious, the different things. So I'm sure as you're listening to this, you can probably think of a few funny things that you will just never forget that your kid has said. So here we go. From Lauren A, number 1. I was picking my child up from daycare. I heard him say to the counselor, "Just let me pick my nose." I thought that was pretty funny. That's hilarious. I love just the bluntness of kids. You just, there is no filter. Okay, number 2, Leah R. When my baby was 3, she was a flower girl in my cousin's wedding. She was speaking in her baby talk and told a random person in the elevator that she was a flower girl. The funny thing is how she was pronouncing it. She said it more like folk goo, but really it sounded like she was saying F you. The guy in the elevator was stunned. I had to explain to him what she was actually saying. It took everything in my power not to die laughing. Okay, that's hilarious. I remember I used to babysit a kid when I was younger, and his word for truck sounded a lot like the F word. I'll just say it like that. And he loved trucks. So, yes, I'll say that. All right, number 3, Anna G. My 3-year-old son, potty training, had to do number 2 while we were out shopping. There were 2 toilet stalls in the store's women's room. One was occupied when we entered. My son gave me a series of instructions. Mom, don't come in the stall with me. I can do it myself. But I want to see your feet, so don't go too far away. You need to be ready to wipe my butt. The occupant in the other stall started chuckling at all these instructions my son was giving me. Then when my son finished his business, I entered his stall to help him clean up, and he says, Mom, how'd you get so good at wiping butts? The other occupant lost it. She was laughing so hard, my son got a little scared, and we cleaned up and left as quickly as possible. Oh, poor guy. He was probably so embarrassed. He wasn't thinking like, oh, the person next to me can hear me. I think something happens when little kids are in like dressing rooms or bathrooms that they just assume the other people can't hear them. So he probably just thought his mom could only hear him. Oh, so embarrassing for him. But that is pretty funny. Number 4, when my sister was probably 4 years old, she would always try to answer the telephone. My friends would call and ask if I were home. She would just say yes and hang up. That's hilarious. What movie is that? There's a movie where the little brother like answers the phone and does that exact thing. I can't think of it. If you guys can think of it, let me know. Number 5, Jessica H. I told my daughter that we were out of peanut butter for her PB&J sandwich, and she yelled back, "This is just a big pile of misery." She was 5. Man, the dramatics. Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, you know, when you're at that age, not having peanut butter can be a big deal. So I get it. I get it. Well, those were some awesome funny things that kids have said. If you guys have any funny things that your kids said that you want to share, comment it in our Instagram feed or of course in our Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, join the Facebook group. We have the link in the show notes or below on our YouTube channel as well. And thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see you next week. Hey guys, if you found this or any episode of Mom Talks with Christa helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. We release new videos every single Wednesday, and our new podcast is out every single Thursday. So lots of different ways you can catch us. And of course, if you're not following us on our socials, go ahead and follow us there. We've got tons of new content for you every single day. And finally, if you're watching this and doubting yourself, you're doing a great job. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.